Hey guys, so we're here with the last lesson in Module 6. Um, to be honest with you, we skipped a couple. They're all about line plots. You guys have done a bunch of work with that, and I'm feeling pretty confident in your ability with those things. We're moving ahead to the last lesson in Module 6, and then we'll start Module 7 um, on Monday, and we're going to start um, not right at the beginning of that. We're going to jump in one topic, so we'll start on topic B. That's a decision I made with the other third grade teachers, just because our year is a little bit shortened this year, and because obviously things are different now than they would have been if we were in school. We're trying to get you all the most important stuff to prepare you the best we can for fourth grade, and that is why we're skipping certain lessons and choosing some topics over other topics. It's just to make sure that you have everything you need in order to succeed next year. This topic is about line plots and bar graphs, and it is a little bit of it's definitely a review, but I want you to start thinking about why we taught you both bar graphs and line graphs. Like you might be thinking, or line plots rather. You might be thinking to yourself like, well, why do I need to learn two of these? Why can't I just learn one and use that one? Well, as we're going to explore here in a minute, each one has its own purpose, and um, it's important to sort of start to understand the distinction between those things and understand why it might be beneficial to use one in one case and the other in a different case. And I don't expect you to develop a full understanding of that yet, but I think it's important you at least start thinking about it so that down the road you can say, that's right, Mr. Brunel told me one time that I was going to need both of these. And now I can share with my seventh grade teacher that I do know something about both of them. All right, well, here we go. Let me share my whiteboard and we'll get doing some graphing. So again, most of this, the work you're going to do is largely review today. Whoops. So the slideshow or the slides that you do will be review, but I'm going to challenge you a little bit here in this lesson to think sort of beyond that. So we're going to first do a review of both a bar graph and a line plot, and then we're going to talk about why each is important. So let's start with our bar graph here. So I might have, this might be like number of magazines sold. Oh, that actually, you know what? That shouldn't be there. That should be on the other side. So you teachers make mistakes all the time too. So the title is number of magazines sold by each student. Uh, so I'm labeling things here to get it set up. We'll have like, I'll just pick some names from class. We'll have Liam, we'll have Zoe, we'll have Robert, and we'll have Sunny. We'll have 4 students that are selling papers today, magazines. Then we'll have 2, 4, 6, 8, and 10. And we'll say that Liam sold 6. We'll say that Zoe sold 9. So we'll put it like halfway between that 8 and that 10. We'll say that Robert only sold 3. And we'll say that Sunny sold 7. And so what I want you to think about is, why did Mr. Brunel choose to use a bar graph for this? I'll give you a second to think about that. What is it that's beneficial about using bar graph in this case? Or what are we doing with a bar graph? Well, what we're doing is we're comparing these 4 kids. We're comparing Liam to Zoe, to Robert, to Sunny. We're looking at them sort of versus the other people. We want to see how did Zoe's sales compare to Robert's sales, and how did Sunny's sales compare to Liam's sales. So you use a bar graph when you want to compare things, when you want to look at them versus other things. That's when it's most beneficial to use this type of graph, when you're doing a comparison. It wouldn't make as much sense to try to put this on a line plot. Now I could put a line, I could do it. I can put a line and I could put the names down on the bottom. I could have Liam. Oops, I forgot part of Liam's L there. I could have Liam and Zoe, Robert and Sunny. And I could say Liam sold 6 and I could put 6 X's. But that I could do that. But that's not like the true meaning of a line plot. Like a frequency of something is more the true meaning of that. So let's look at what that should look like. So I'll clear this. And if I was going to make a line plot and I want to talk about how often something happens, then I'm not going to put names on the bottom. I'm going to put number of magazines sold. So I'm going to build this one first, and then we'll talk about why I did it the way I did it. So I might say, we'll stick with the numbers I used before, 2, 4, I guess I can put all the numbers in here, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So people sold between 0 and 10 magazines. Now, because I'm not using this as a comparison tool, I just want to know how many students sold 1, how many students sold 2, how many students sold 3, maybe my 1 or 10, how many students sold 4, and so on and so forth. I'm not comparing Robert to Liam anymore. Names aren't associated with this. So I could say I had 20 kids in my class, which I do. I could say 2 of them sold 2, 3 of them sold 3, 1 sold 4, 4 sold 5, nobody sold 6, actually only 1 sold 6. So 2, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. I could say 2 sold 7, 4 sold 8, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 1 sold and 2 sold 10. So now, I'm not comparing one student to the other. I just want to know how many people sold 5. And the easiest way for me to do that is to make a line plot. So you use a line plot when you're looking at the frequency or how often something occurs. So I don't care who sold 5 in this case. I'm not comparing one student to another. I just want to know how many people sold 5 versus how many people sold 8 versus how many people sold 10. And that is when you use a line plot. And I know that distinction is kind of hard as a 3rd grader. And again, I'm not expecting you to develop a full understanding of it right now. But the difference between a bar graph and a line plot is that in the bar graph, you're comparing groups or comparing categories to each other. It's categorical information. That's sort of the math word for it. And you are comparing those categories to one another. Whereas with a line plot, you're not comparing the categories to each other in the same way. You're just looking at the frequency or the how often things happen. So I can really easily look at this and say, I can tell right away that 2 students, I don't know which ones, but 2 students sold 2 papers, or magazines rather. I can tell that 1 student sold 9 papers. It doesn't matter to me which student sold the 9 magazines. All I care about is seeing how frequently that thing happened, that number of sales happened. Again, I know that's sort of a tough thing to understand as a 3rd grader, but it is an important thing as you get into data collection and graphing and analysis of of the data. And it's something that you're going to do in your future academic pursuits. So I wanted to introduce it to you tonight. I will say that your work today doesn't ask you to write about this topic really. It's going to ask you to do some practice using both bar graphs and line plots. I do want you having experience doing both and being able to switch back and forth from one to the other. And in order to do that successfully, you need to understand what each is looking at. So that's why I'm sort of giving you this lesson in the way that I am. I want you to know right away when you're looking at a bar graph that it is going to be comparing categories of things. It's going to be comparing one category to the other and how they did in something. Whereas when you look at a line plot, you're going to be able to know, oh, this must be asking me how frequently something occurs, or showing me rather how frequently something occurs, or how infrequently something occurs. So just by understanding that, you're going to make your lives easier as students, because if you know that when you look at a problem, you're going to be able to better understand what's being asked of you, and you're going to have a better sense of what the graph is telling you. You'll have hints toward the right answer right away just by understanding how the graph is structured and what the graph is supposed to be showing you. I am aware that that was sort of a complicated explanation. I am aware that it extends beyond what normally is expected of third graders. However, you guys are a pretty exceptional group. You guys are pretty deep thinkers and you liked being challenged. So I thought it was a good opportunity to introduce you to something that would challenge you to stretch your thinking a little bit. I hope you enjoyed it. I'm always happy to answer questions. Please let me know if you have any, and I will either make another video, or I can chat with you in Zoom, or I can chat with you one-on-one in Zoom if you're really interested in learning more about this. Let me know if this was something that you struggled with, or if it's just something that you want a little bit more information on. All right, guys, good luck with your problem sets today. I hope you enjoy them. They're pretty short, and make sure you're reading the directions really carefully. I noticed yesterday that the directions tripped up a couple of people, so make sure that you read the directions and really understand what it's asking you to do. I always told you to do that in class, and I'm still going to tell you to do that now because it's a really important skill that you need to learn. All right, guys, good luck.